Hello, everybody, and welcome to Minecraft Event Analysis. We're back with another episode. That's right, I'm actually committed to it. Basically, a series where I go through after a Minecraft event, or maybe a little bit, a decent bit after a Minecraft event, talking about the event, as the positives and the negatives, the feedback overall that I kind of left, to try and encourage more people to kind of talk about this sort of stuff, think, I guess, critically about everything. And yeah, kind of like I said last time, and will continue to say, feel free to leave your thoughts on the event that I talk about as a whole, the stuff that I talk about as well, and your thoughts on, positives and negatives as well. So yeah, PB, well, to be specific, it's Pandora's Box, Genesis, Dragon Pit, right? Because Genesis and Ascension is the difference between the two, groups, and then Dragon Pit is the name of this special event, which obviously is very relevant, because Dragon Pit was the fantastic thing. The spoilers for this is, it's peak. This event, I just realized I had the footage pause, that's stupid. This event, was awesome. And I don't say that as oh, it was the best thing ever that anybody ever made in the community. I'm not sat here saying the game's the best thing ever, every single thing's amazing, because it's not 100%, but it's it's up there. It is up there as far as the best events go right now. This is easily on par with Block Wars, if not higher. I'm gonna be honest. I would say this event is the closest to the MCC tier that we've gotten out of any event. Of course, it still has its flaws. Every event, I mean, MCC has its flaws. But the stuff they do here was amazing, and to be able to experience it all for the first time was incredible. So we'll go through my feedback, and I'll kind of, I'm gonna do the same thing as last time and accidentally kind of leak my disc a little bit. Oh well. And we'll just go through, basically, in the order of my feedback, kind of like last time, and I'll see if I waffle and go off on tangent or anything else. So, first of all, I did this feedback the day after, because it was pretty late on the actual day of the event, but afterwards I was like, wow, guys, I literally just put the cinema gif in feedback, and then put, I will actually give my real feedback tomorrow. And I mean, if you guys have seen my tweet, it was amazing, and I've literally been sat there after this event, literally the day after in work, I was sat there wow, what the amazing event ideas I could come up with based off of this concept sort of thing, adding that cinema to it in a sense, the storyline going on, the way that could go and develop into other Minecraft events. I came up with so many banger ideas. They'll never happen, right? Because I don't have a team like this, but oh my god, there's so much potential there for the future of events like this. I feel like it's going to be kind of patient zero for events being hold on, we need to try something different. We need to raise the bar here. Let's see what we can do. Let's mix things up, because I think the game format, the way this event took the traditional format of you play games, get points, but then spun it on its head and did different things with it, was really interesting, and I want to see more events do that. Not necessarily and for a while people have been oh, why is every event, 6 or 8 games or whatever, and you get points? It's because that format is tried and tested and it works so well, but this is the way that you take that format and change it in a good way. And I thought that worked really, really well. Let me see if I can get a more hype music. See, the issue with doing shuffle on the soundtrack is you'll get random ass stuff. Okay, right. Anyway. So yeah, the first thing I put in the feedback was the event and overall package was incredible, because it was going into this event, not seeing, the only thing I knew about this event beforehand was that apparently it's really good, and that Master Garth had a music track on Spotify named Master Garth. That's literally all I knew. So I didn't know what to expect at all going into this. I did see the games though. I knew of the games, so yeah, because somebody put that in the Discord. I was like, oh, okay, I'll read these, I guess. I don't know why I did that, but yeah. And I said basically nothing I'm going to say that's constructive in the feedback is actually about the Dragon Age stuff, because everything that was kind of unique to this event, there was the Dragon Pit stuff, was basically incredible. All the stuff I left feedback on really is basically typical PB stuff. Obviously I left a really, really good positive feedback on the Dragon Pit stuff, but the actual constructive stuff, the stuff where I was like, oh, it'd be nice if this was, a little bit different like this, whatever, that was basically all normal, traditional PB stuff. So I put the blood, sweat, and tears you guys put into this really came through, and there's so many highlights. It feels like an injustice to say just a few. But the things I want to highlight, the music in this event, it was amazing. As you will have heard if you watched the event, or as you're hearing now in the background, it was phenomenal. And not just that it was amazing. I mean, I love music in general, so it hit for me. There was 48 new tracks in this event. 48 brand new tracks, right? the amount of work, I spoke to the guys that worked on it. It's Kaelton who made all the music. He is the GOAT, bro. He made all the music, and he was, like, the lead of this event. He took the forefront of, like, the design and things like that, and he is the, like, honestly, the absolute GOAT. It was incredible. I mean, to me, as somebody who, like, does some, like, knows so much music stuff, right? Like, 48 tracks, like, that's insane. And a vocal track in an event, an original vocal track that I looked at some of the original VODs. People thought it was, like, people were worried they were going to get copyrighted and thought it was from, like, Hercules. Like, hello? That is just insane. Yeah, it was amazing. And the fact that the music as well is, like, remixes of the original tracks, but, like, each game had its own genre, and I'll get into that a bit more, but that was amazing. Each game had, like, a genre. The game had a different theme itself, and then that theme was present in the music. It was so smart, so well put together. And yeah, it's one of the big highlights of me. And of course, the boss fight, there being a boss fight at the end, was amazing. And I'll touch more on that in a little bit. And overall, just having a narrative going on. And the narrative, like, it was kind of one of those, like, cliche, like, cringy little bits of dialogue here and there, but it worked. It didn't outstay its welcome, and it wasn't like you couldn't. If you didn't care about it, you could still enjoy the event, but you could also invest a little bit in it and enjoy the event more, which is like, it was like the perfect balance of it. It was amazing. And just acknowledging the staff team with that as well, like, each NPC was a member of staff, like a very prevalent member of staff, and I think giving them the opportunity is amazing. It was just, yeah. Anyway, into specific games. So this is where we'll get more constructive. So the first game, survival games. This is always a very Marmite game, right? I enjoy survival games. I think it still stands to say that this is the best version of survival games in an event. The Gulag is great as a concept, and the fact that there's 2 rounds is great as well. Electro Flying is cool, but that's not really stuff that matters that much. Just overall, it's a good version of SG. It's a very good rendition. The new map, we got a brand new map for it, was cool. I didn't really have any, like, oh, this is an issue. So it worked. I would say, though, the issue with this game for this event wasn't the game itself per se. It's the way the teams were made for this event. And to say, like, the roster of the event. Because there were so many high school PvP people in this event where, like, everybody and their mother was crit chaining. And it makes games like this so unfun because you can't, like, if you switch off for, like, a millisecond, you will die. Or your team will die and you'll lose. And it is, for a game like this and for Temple Lockout, which we'll talk about later, it's so polarizing. It's just really unfortunate because I think all the other I think the game roster overall in this event was really, really well picked. It was a really good spread. And I think the issue with the game roster isn't necessarily the game roster itself, it's just the way the teams were, which I guess you could argue the game should have been adjusted for that, which is fair. I think if SG and Temple Lockout overall just had more sort of like silly, goofy things going on, the event would have been even more peaked than it already was. But I think this was definitely the weakest game of the event because, you know, you are just getting crit chain constantly, and it's just kind of, it is what it is. The amount of people in this game that would go to PvP is insane, and people will sit there and say skill issue, but I mean, it can't have been very entertaining for people to watch either, because most of the people you watched just died in 2 seconds, and there was barely any fights. Everybody just played really, really defensive until you found somebody who was on their own or in a really bad position. Yeah, it was rough. It was rough. But the game itself, I do like the SG. I don't think it's a flaw of the... Well, I guess it's partly a flaw of the SG, but as it is, I think provided the teams were more traditional PvE teams, it would have been absolutely fine. And the new map played fine. I like the addition of lava, even though I don't really think it made much, but it's nice to have that sort of more situational, you can play to the environment, which is very, very important for games like this. And that was good. And right, I need to play the track, but the guitar strums killed me. Let me find this. Survival games. Wait. No, why can't I find it? What's it even? Surely it's called Survival Games. Nah. There it is. The guitar kills me. Wait, say your Greystone beforehand. Wait. No, it isn't. But, oh my god. It's so good. It's such a banger. But then it's a remix of the original track. Oh, man. Anyway. I really liked... Yeah, here you go. It's so, like, the music is probably my favorite thing out of the whole event. Like I said, music and boss is incredible. And yeah, it made the overall package, having the theme of this was great. The introduction, it was done by Danny, right? That was fantastic, and with the music, and I think it does fit pretty well in an event like this game. But I wish there was more gimmicky stuff, more silly sort of stuff to add to it, like the fact that in the second round everybody respawned. I wish we had a bigger twist like that, where it made the game more enjoyable for everyone. But it is what it is. And with that said, we'll move on to the next game, which was Hyperdrive. This was probably the least changed game in the event. It's very, very similar to how it kind of always was. But that's not to say it's a bad game. Hyperdrive is the best Elytra movement game. And honestly, it's one of the better movement games. I think you get a really good mix of adrenaline. There's a really good opportunity for people to pop off, because it only takes like a small mistake to sort of not get a great run, and I think it's common that even the best of players will make a mistake like that. So people, I think it was Wilbur in this event, had a really nice pop-off, so that was great. The music was also cool, the fact they did a different direction. I think it was electric guitars for this one, right? I think I had in a sense, the worst style, but that's because this is definitely a harder game to stylize. But it still worked really, really well. Of course, new maps would have been nice. We only had that one new map, and I think that one new map was cool, but it could have done with a little bit more direction at the beginning. And it would have been nice to have more maps, or I think the best thing they could have done is edited the resource pack or retextured the maps to be slightly in a theme. But honestly, it's like, it's pretty nitpicky. So I put in the feedback, it's like, you did way more than enough in the event as a whole, so it's really not a big deal that these games were similar. And what are the chances Hyperdrive comes up after this? But yeah, Hyperdrive, it's a banger game. It's really enjoyable. But with that being said, we move on to arguably the biggest game in the event, which was amazing. The Pandora package. I don't know about we'll get into the game itself. The Hades Havoc intros with a vocal track, which is original. I already kind of spoke about this, but that is phenomenal. And the way it does a little cutscene is amazing. It then goes to explain the map with the voice acting. This is by far the best voice acting in the event. Hades is incredible. I loved it. Apparently this was done by Kailton, I believe, as well. It was so good, and they tried to get a bit of comedy in it. They showed us some of the... An additional note for the whole event, by the way, is they had lines recorded for so many random things, like random situations that would never happen. So, like, somebody disconnecting from every single game, there's a line for. And, like, it was so unneeded. They could have just had a general line that could have kind of filled it. But no, they did it for everyone. And stuff like that's so cool. This game as a concept is fantastic. It's like a little open world adventure. And, you know, the way that it has they kind of thought of basically everything here. Like, the map being there is fantastic. The fact the map is color-coded is great. Yeah, it's just such a fun little adventure with your team. Even though you don't interact with the enemies, you still get to interact with them at the very end, because you'll either cheer on the people at the end, or, you know, you can kind of, when you finish, you can watch the teams, and you still like holding tab to be like, oh, are they going to finish before us? It's not incredibly interactive, don't get me wrong, but it still has that little tiny element. Overall, just a complete, like, it's an open world game in a Minecraft event, right? Like, that's what it was. And also just like the artifact feature was a great idea, in the sense of, like, obviously it's essentially kind of like find the button, right? I heard a few people say, which, yeah, but it is the additional feature, right? It's to kind of stop the AFKing, like, you know, if somebody's in the last trial, everybody's not just kind of sat around doing nothing. So it's a smart feature to add, and it encourages you to explore around the big wide open map. So I think it worked fine. I think maybe a bit more depth could have been added there if you really want to be nitpicky about it, but it worked well. I guess you could also be nitpicky about individual rooms. I didn't see all of them. I only saw, I think, 4, maybe 3. But overall, the ones I played were cool. They were unique, and I played a mix of difficulties as well, which is what's kind of important to kind of realize. Minotaur boss fight is a really, really cool idea. I just wish he was a little bit more like a kind of sequence boss. Like, you just kind of hit him a ton there. And when he does moves and you actually have to counter it like an actual boss fight, it's fantastic. Like, stuff like this is really cool. I wish you would have done like a charging thing where you like run straight to a wall and you have to like move out of the way just in time. That would have been really cool. But I think the potential here, mainly the thing I said about PB is, like, it was incredible. And I'll touch on this again a bit. I keep saying that. It was incredible, but it also, like, it's got so much potential on where they can go in the future. And it's such a good balance of that. Like, the stuff they did was amazing, but it's not like you can't top it, you know? So, like, the Minotaur boss fight is a really cool concept, and it works so well for this one. But if this event comes back, or whatever the next iteration of this is, it's got places to go. For example, that boss fight, like, it's really cool, but, you know, more depth would be welcomed as well. And this game in general, I just thought it was such a great concept to have 10 different little challenges. I guess you could argue maybe it would be nice to kind of say what the sort of challenges were, but you've got a team, you can communicate that sort of thing. So, yeah, it works well. Stuff like just the fact there's a map and the fact that all the things glow as well is like, they didn't have to... Sometimes with events, these are small little details which go such a long way, which, like, you wouldn't think of when you're just playing this game, but you can tell they thoroughly thought about and cared about what they were doing, because those small features, like having them glow, or, you know, glow black if somebody's there, very smart choices. And yeah, it was great. And then, obviously, after that, after you do all your trials as a team, you get to the last trial, the last challenge, which was here, which is an escape room. And they had this little gambling mechanic, which is also a really, really cool idea, because you could, you know, if you were, like, behind in the event, you could be like, oh, we might as well gamble. If you were ahead in the event, you could be like, oh, let's play it safe. I really like that. I think maybe if this game could have come later in the event, it would have been more interesting. But that's just a little side note, really. The biggest thing as well, I forgot to mention about the overall walking around, this had dynamic music. Most games don't have dynamic music. That's my favorite, like, one of my favorite things ever is like dynamic music. Each zone in the map had its own song. Like, what the hell? It was so unneeded. So many things in this event were just unneeded, but they were like, you know what, this will be great, let's do it. And I love when people do that in events. They were like, it's not needed, but like, this will be fun, let's do it. And they did it, and it was great. This escape room, I'm sure, was one of those things where it was kind of like just left on the cutting room floor. They were like, it'd be kind of cool idea. And they were like, you know, let's just do it. And they did it, and it worked great. The time limit, having something in an event which is timed is great. And somehow, even though we were all on our own different time limits, all the different teams, it didn't overstay its welcome this game. I think it's because it was very fresh, obviously. But still, I think to be able to design a game that lasts about 40 minutes, that is so refreshing, and you're not sat there being like, oh, wow, this is dragging, is great. The way that they split us into 2 and 2, fantastic idea. And all the puzzles felt pretty nice as well. The only thing I would say is, I guess, in the future, it'd be nice to have less mazes. Because there's like 2 mazes as parts of these. It would be nicer if we had a section that was a bit different, you know. One thing I would always say for games like this, Dungeon Duos from Mario Party 4 is right there for the taking when it comes to Minecraft events. It's on my list of concepts for Minecraft games. It would be amazing to kind of adapt some of that here. But yeah, overall, it's a great game. This mechanic was fantastic. And also the fact that even if you didn't deliver all your contracts, you still got to do this and have that chance of escaping and getting the bonus gamble points. Really well thought out instead of just kind of ruin everybody. Because it does say in the introduction you have to do all the souls before the time runs out. And that's a lie, which is honestly works well. I'm happy with it. Great game. Great package. It's probably the most cinematic game. Oh, it's definitely the most cinematic game in a Minecraft event. I think it's the most unique game. I think it's pretty fair to say it's the most unique game. But it's also not like overly complicated. They managed to make it refreshing and unique without making it overly complicated. So fair play. Honestly, huge props to the team that made this. It's amazing. It just worked really well. I guess the other thing you can say is the score was a bit wacky with it, but overall, I guess the scoring didn't really matter in the event. But kind of going forward, if they wanted to kind of look into that more, yeah, it could do with being a little different. Also, side note, they changed some of the things between the main event and this event, which was fantastic. I believe they changed the artifact locations, which is fantastic because people will have VOD reviewed and tried to get best strategy. People will always do that, and I'm glad that they did change a few things, little slight changes. They kind of got hated on for that, but yeah, it was great. Then next, we jumped down a little bit. We got Temple Lockout. Firstly, like everything, music was incredible. The build-up on this track, the stylization of the map, turning Temple Lockout into like a cyberpunk city is crazy. Why would you do that? But it worked. The map was great. The music was great. The textures were great. The style was great. It was great. It just suffered from the same issue as SG. I love Temple Lockout, but it does have the issue that like a Meltdown has, where if teams just go towards you, you will just get screwed, and that's kind of how it is. It's really hard to play around that. Especially, we did get low-key targeted in this game, which was kind of cringe. It is what it is. But yeah, like I say, this game and overall this roster was really, really good. It's just the fact the skill level of the teams just kind of soured it a little bit. And it is what it is. I actually, all my feedback I kind of put in the Discord, and I left it for like a couple hours. I came back expecting to see like a few little comments. There's about 300, 400 words that I missed. of people basically arguing over what I said about the skill level, and that was crazy to me because it's pretty clear to see that that wasn't an issue. Like, come on. But yeah, Temple Lockout is still a fantastic game. Of course, it has its flaws. Any game in this sort of format will, but I think it does a PvP game really, really well. And yeah, I'm still not a big fan of the third round, though. I'll always say this. The third round with Giants and Axes, it ain't a cook. It ain't a cook. I do like having a different third round. I just wish we wouldn't have the Axes and Tridents. But yeah, I do really like Temple Lockout. It's a smart, like, strategic PvP game where if you die, it's not over. But then again, the more you play, I guess, if you're a solo, you really do struggle to kind of pick up points. But yeah, it's interesting. I like it. And I think the fact that we got a brand new map for it was very refreshing. And the textures, the overall package is great. It's just unfortunately the way the kind of roster and the team balancing kind of set out. But once again, I know that they kind of didn't want to balance these teams because they wanted everybody who supported the event to be able to get in. So it's one of those catch-22 type scenarios. It's just rough all around. Like, there was no real answer other than adding more gimmicky, goofy stuff to this game. W save right there, by the way. I just want to take credit for that. Save, don't go. But yeah, that's kind of all I'll say to Temple Lockout. Not really too much else to say. Apart from, there was 3 unique music tracks. They had a unique music track for each round of this game. It was incredibly unnecessary. They just did not need to do that. And it was amazing. Yeah, it was great. But then we have one of the things I've been asking for such a long time. Speedrun. Mario Kart Race. This is once again also another thing that was on my dock of like, ideas that I would make into games if I had the ability to. Making a race game into Mario Kart is literally the easiest game idea ever, and I can't believe it took this long to make it, and they did do it really, really well. The music was great. The fact that you speed around lap 3 is just a little nice detail. The fact you get item boxes is great. The fact that mushrooms do skips is very, very cool. I think maybe it was a little bit harder to understand for first timers. Dragons are bullet bills. It's such a cool idea. New map as well, fantastic. The map worked really well. I'm trying to think if there was a bunch running around, which I think there was a decent amount to the end. This water section, amazing idea. We got some Cooper Cape vibes coming from this section, which I'm sure is what they were thinking about. Worked really well. I actually don't know how they did that, but it was awesome. A section like that is really cool where you have to drift. It's not boat drifting. It's like a unique sort of drifting. I guess it gives an advantage to players who've played before, but it's a one-time event. You don't even need to worry about that. Yeah, item content was really cool. The only issue with this game is picking up items and the clump of players that happen. So until about this point in the race, I'm clumped with the majority of the players in the race because the item boxes disappear temporarily when a player picks them up. So the first 6 people there, which is early on is ping dependent basically, get the items, then nobody else gets anything, and then they might make a breakaway or whatever, and then there'll still be a big clump of people that are stuck, and whenever they try and get items, it's going to get taken by somebody else. So that's the only kind of weird thing. A few of the items were a bit interesting as well. There was the lightning bolt, which I saw people talk about was a bit overpowered. I get that. It is kind of crazy. So I think what I said was the skip potential with the mushrooms is really cool. It'd be nice to see more skip potential with different items. So yeah, maybe like Sprint Racer has the ability to get an Elytra. You know, is there a way you could kind of incorporate that? Or maybe like a Trident shot, or just ways that you could kind of incorporate new skips. Now, obviously, I'm not coming up with any good ideas right now, I'm going to be honest. But yeah, ways to go with items that can kind of help in different ways would be really interesting. For sure. Maybe like a slipstream mechanic from Team Sonic Racing. Really cool idea. I'm surprised the race game still hasn't done. I have so many good ideas, guys. But yeah, slipstream mechanic where basically you can follow behind people. But in Team Sonic Racing, you can slipstream off your team. Only your team. If you follow behind your team, you get like a little boost, which is really cool. Really cool idea. I think something like that could work really well. Maybe an item that gives you a slipstream boost. Something like that. But yeah, great game. And the music was great. The skips were great. It was fantastic. Just a coming together issue, and the items could be a little bit more adjusted. Yeah, it's good overall. Then we go to the last game, which is Gauntlet 2. I love Gauntlet. It's one of my favorite PB games. I thought the intro was really cool. The way they didn't like explain the game was goofy and like throw you into an arena. I was like, what's going on here? But the game concept is a little rough. Oh, here we get the Temple Lockout music. Oh, it's gonna do the drop. Oh my god. Anyway. But the topic. It's been a while. But yeah, this first game was rough because it's just so easy to target. It's just a bit of a shame because there's not much you can do about it. I would have much preferred this game if it was just a knockback PvP game. I think it would have been absolutely fine if it was that. You could still kind of target, but I think it would have been fine. It was obviously partly impacted because it was Game 6, but regardless, I think targeting is just way too easy in a game like this. And I think Collect in Block Wars kind of showed that this concept is just never really going to work. It was okay. Obviously, for a one-time event, it's not the end of the world, especially because the points didn't really matter in the end. But yeah, I don't think I would like to see this one back. I'm going to be honest. Then Game 2, of course, we had Sand Surfers, the GOAT game. I love Sand Surfers. It's it's probably my favorite game in a party game. Actually, no, I feel like it's got to go to Splat. Oh, if they fix it. Yeah, Sand Surfers is the peak parkour game because it is adaptive parkour where you have to think on your feet and it's not just doing tech. It is really good. It is the best way to do parkour as a mini game that we've seen. Because no matter what, it is parkour. That's what this game is. But the way it does a unique spin on parkour is just, it's fantastic. This game's great. Even though I threw this time, I love Sand Surfers. It's unique. It works well. And yeah, it's just a great game. There's not really much else to say on Sand Surfers other than I always like it. It doesn't outstay its welcome. They made it longer this time, which was I think it was longer, which was a nice touch because it meant less people survived, even though that included me. Yeah, nice game. We like Sand Surfers. Then we had Game 3, which was the Sheep Spleef one. The first time I played this, it was a little jank. Because I got clipped like as I was jumping, even though I didn't really get exploded by it, and it like took my jump. And I don't know if they did fix that, but it seemed better for this one, but maybe that's just kind of like placebo. It's an okay game. It doesn't outstay its welcome. It's gimmicky. It's a bit silly. You can once again kind of target, but not really. It wasn't really an issue here, so I don't think it would ever be an issue. Because if it was ever going to be an issue, there's like 100 points difference between us and a couple teams. So yeah, it doesn't outstay its welcome. Some good play potential as well that SMK pulled off. So you can have some high moments. It's a good game. It's a very good game. Well, no, it was a good game. I'm sometimes too positive. Yeah, it was really enjoyable. And it didn't outstay its welcome at all. And it's unique. So we always like those. There's always bonus points for that. Then we had the Silly Parkour game, which honestly worked pretty well. I think... Yeah, I don't think... I was going to say I think the parkour might have been a bit too hard for lower skill people, but honestly, probably not. I think if you were targeting an overall way lower skill group, then maybe it would have to be a little bit easier and gimmickier. I said in my feedback, maybe a Trident section would be nice, just to mix up a little bit more. The obstacle section honestly worked really great because it worked as a fantastic catch-up mechanic. Because the people who got there first had to build the bridges, and the people who got there later could get on the bridges. And also you could work with your team there. I only finished as well as I did in this game because Ogar built a bridge and commed it. And I went straight to there and got right up. So, yeah, it works well. Doesn't outstay its welcome. As long as it gets new maps would be the only issue if this was a persistent game for PB in general. Yeah, it would just need new maps. But yeah, it worked well. The last one is the little... I don't know what any of these names are. That one's called Obstacles. Let's see. TDT. Yeah. I thought it was a cool idea. The only thing I'd say is I wish the bridges were a little clearer of when they're like moving, opened or closed. And I think it'd be nice if maybe you weren't that slow when you had all the gold. Or there was like an easier, like way longer path that was just kind of obstacles you avoided. Because yeah, it's kind of weird that some of the paths you just can't do if you don't have the speed, and it's kind of hard to know that in the moment. But I think as a concept, it's a pretty fire concept. That isn't a pun, but just because it's filled with fire. Yeah, it was enjoyable. I just wish it was kind of a bit more clear when the platforms were kind of shrinking and that sort of thing. But yeah, that's kind of Gauntlet. There's not really much else to say on that. And then it kind of just moved to the final, which I won't lie, in the actual event, I was really, really sad because we just got gypped out of the final so hard. But it worked out because it was literally just one round, and it only... Apparently in the main event, they kind of complained about this, that it was one round. But it was kind of silly goofy. At least you got to play it. I feel like they did not even have to include this at all. They could have just gone straight to the final game. Although the beacons did spoil who the last two were. It'd be nice if that wasn't the case, so you had a little slow reveal, but I guess they didn't want to waste time with that, so they didn't do that. Destroying it was really cool. The way they have that little animation, it destroys. Really cool idea. And then obviously the boss fight. Such a great idea. Having Garth be the boss is like a running joke throughout the event. It worked really well because it didn't outstay its welcome. And then of course you had the two phases. You had the crystals phase, the normal phase. The only thing I wish is that it was a little clearer, like what the game was. But honestly, I think I walked past the sign that explained it. So maybe that's on me because I was trying to reach the cube in the middle. So yeah, I thought it was great having 8 different mini games. Some of them were based off of other PB games, like Disco Fever was one of them. I didn't see it, but it was there. It's a great idea, and I really thought they were gonna cop out of doing an actual boss fight, and I was so glad when they didn't. This is a really good like team morale boosting thing where it's like, oh, everybody's working together. Like, oh, we gotta combine to do these challenges. Great idea, and even greater idea was to have that build up to an actual boss fight. I did say my feedback. I think the middle area, if it kind of got more dangerous as you go, would have been interesting. Because like if after each crystal you got it kind of filled more with lava and you had to do a bit more parkour, would have been really cool. But that's kind of, once again, basically all the feedback I have on like Dragon Pit exclusive stuff is just like it's very nitpicky. It's like if I want like pristine stuff. But yeah, it was great. And then of course you had the actual boss fight, which once again is like the spectacle. The fact that we did a boss fight in a Minecraft event is crazy. It was great. Having music going on, having voice lines like an actual boss fight, having actual boss fight moves which like make sense people were dying to, was great. I originally thought everybody had 1 life and we could lose the boss fight, which is both a fire concept and a bad concept at the same time. So I'm kind of glad it worked out how it did. Of course, it could have been a bit more advanced, I guess, in how you damage Garth. You just kind of go shoot him with the crossbows and you don't really get any feedback back after hitting him. But to be fair, there's 32 players trying to hit him at once. But I think maybe if like a second phase had you like doing a bit of parkour to like jump hit him or something, I don't know, something cool like that would have been awesome. Maybe giving each team like a highlighting moment where like towards the very end he like locks away the 7 other teams, then one team has to do 1 hit and then unlock it for another team, and then just so like, you know, they did that team mode at the end where you have to stand your color. Instead of that, imagine he like somehow locked away all the colors apart from 1. And then that team unlocked a different color, maybe in like reverse placement order, and then unlocked first place team, who then got the final hit. I think that would have been cool, but once again, it's really nitpicky. It's potential for the future. This is such a good, like, I wouldn't say proof of concept because it worked great as it was, but the levels you can go with this is crazy, and it was fantastic to have a boss fight in a Minecraft event. The music, it even had motifs from earlier on. I'm pretty sure I heard motifs from earlier on. I could be wrong. I could be trolling. That was at least in the credits. But yeah, it was great. Voice acted. What a great package. And then of course, that was it. That was Pandora's box. What a banger. Like I said, overall, game roster was really good. Honestly, the game roster was kind of as peak as they could have got it. It was just the roster thing was the team roster was like kind of the only issue with that. And I just kind of outroed it with saying, like I said to begin with, the event was awesome in so many ways, and it will definitely be remembered in the event community, because it 100% will. I forgot to mention, having the staff members join in this game is also great. That's such a cool idea. Yeah, anyway, that's what I was saying. The potential you guys have shown for the future and the impact it's going to have going forward is crazy. Huge congrats, and just a thank you for letting me be involved. It was amazing. Yeah, it was just, what a great time. I went in expecting a good time, and I got out, I think, more than I expected. Like, I finished the event, I was like, wow, I want to talk to people about this. Like, this is cool. I wanted to make this video all week, because I wanted to be able to talk about it. And like I say, I'm sat there at work on Monday, and I'm like, man, where could you, like, I came up with some fire event concepts that will never exist. But it's when you ever do something that's got you thinking about it afterwards, that's when you know it's important, right? That's when you know it's had an impact. So huge props to the whole team. Of course, I did name Kelton because they were like project lead and they did all the amazing music, which to me, like, the music is a big standout. But overall, the whole team, I'll put the credits on screen. That's an easy way to get people credited, right? The whole team did such a good job at this. And I know they say it was going for 2 years, but apparently it was about 6 months of active development. So to do this in 6 months is pretty impressive. Especially because this isn't, like, they aren't paid to do this. This isn't MCC. This isn't a job. They spent their own money, their own blood, sweat, and tears to make this. So huge props. And there's going to be people out there that take this event and like, oh, well, that wasn't great. Why is everybody, like, praising it? Let's be real. This event was amazing. And you can nitpick here and there. And I hate when people do this. It's all good to give constructive criticism. It is welcomed. But let's, like, also make sure we acknowledge really good stuff. You know, let's make sure we acknowledge the huge successes that this event had, which, you know, it did. And people are going to sit there and nitpick and be like, well, this game wasn't great, and like I kind of did today. But overall, it was fantastic, and I will definitely remember it as one of my favorite event experiences for sure. It wasn't a Minecraft event; it was a Minecraft event experience. And I think that is what's important. This was like a once you play a Minecraft event. Of course, you experienced it, but like you're playing the Minecraft event. This was something I experienced. You know what I mean? Like it was a little story that was told. It was a little adventure we went on. It was great. And it was just so enjoyable. So thank you so much to the team for making it. What are your guys' thoughts? I've waffled even longer than Block. Well, I didn't think this series would be longer than 30 minutes, but yeah. What do you guys think? I'm curious. You have any similar thoughts to me? Do you have different thoughts? Do you have disagreements with me? Tell me why, all that sort of stuff. What were your overall thoughts of the event? And yeah, that's about all I want to talk about. I'll be back again the next time I play an event, which to be honest is probably in like 2 weeks. So yeah. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.